This lesson is about compounding interest, and we're going to be using the compound interest formula below. So we have this formula: A equals P times the quantity 1 plus R over N raised to the NT power. As you can see here, A represents the ending value that we're going to end up with. P is the principal or initial value. R is the interest rate. And this is very important that interest rate be expressed as a decimal. A lot of times in problems, they're going to give you the rate as a percentage. And we're going to need to convert that to a decimal. And we convert it to a decimal by dividing by 100 or moving that decimal place to the left 2 units. N is the number of times interest is calculated per year. T is time in years. Okay, let's go ahead and look down here at this table. Here we have $1,000 invested. So the $1,000 is going to be your initial amount, which goes in for P. And it's invested at a rate of 10%. So if you take 10 divided by 100 on your calculator, you're going to get the interest in interest rate as a decimal, which is 0.1. As you can see, R has been replaced with 0.1. And finally, how often is this interest compounded each year? So in the first row, we show the word annually. Annually means the interest is compounded only one time each year. And so in the formula, N is replaced with 1. And doing this, putting this into our calculator, as you can see right here, I've plugged it in and we get 1,100. So after 1 a year at 10% interest, we have gone from $1,000 to $1,100. So now let's see what happens when the interest is calculated twice a year and added on. So semi-annually means twice a year. So we replace the N in the formula with 2. And then we go to our calculator and we plug in 2 for N. Everything else stays the same. As you can see, when interest is calculated twice a year, we make a little bit more money. So this time at the end of the year, we have $1,102.50. Let's go ahead and look at the next one, which is quarterly. Quarterly means it's calculated 4 times a year. Going back to our calculator. So what I'm doing here is I'm arrowing up and I'm pressing enter. And what happens is that it copies and pastes the formula below, and you can edit it. So now we're going to change it from twice a year to 4 times a year. And what do you think? Can you make a prediction? Will the amount of money we earn go up, stay the same, or go down? Yes, you're right. Good job. It would go up. Granted, by a very little amount, but still, it still went up. Okay? And that's how you use the compound interest formula. So let's go back here. And as you can see, you have monthly, which is 12 times a year, daily, 365, hourly, and by the minute. So we would replace N with those numbers. It just depends on the problem and what the problem is stating. So let's go ahead and look at an example. Here we have Ben. He deposited $500 in his savings account. So the $500 is going to be P, the initial amount. And I'm sorry I'm not able to write on my screen. For some reason my board is not allowing me to do that. But we're going to continue anyway. The account pays an interest of 7%, which is, remember, divide by 100, which is 0.07 for R. It's compounded quarterly, which means it's compounded 4 times a year. And how much money will Ben have in 3 years? And 3 would represent time. So what we're looking for is A. Let's go back to our calculator. And I'm going to go up here and copy this and paste it. And we're going to change our initial value from 1,000 to $500, the initial amount. And then we're going to change our interest rate from 10% to 7%, which is 0.07. And we are calculating this interest is being calculated every year, but 4 times a year. Because of the word quarterly, it's going to be calculated every year, 4 times a year. All right, so we're going to leave that 4 there. We want to know how much money we're going to have after 3 years. How much money will Ben have after 3 years? Okay, so $500, 7%, compounded quarterly, 3 years. Answer, $615.72. All right, so now that you kind of get an understanding on how this formula works,